welcome to another episode of Dr. Kamini Rao's Masterclass.
I think a good doctor is one who treat actually the patient. An average doctor treats only a disease. Second is life is more important than the file. And third one is humanity is priority.
They are wanting to know the great Manjunath. How did he face that failure within yourself?
As a teacher, you have to be a student also. You have to practice 3 T's: talk, touch and treat. So I wanted to be a game changer. Then at that point of time, they were charging about 4,000 rupees for angiogram. I told all my finance department people, the administrators also locally, let me reduce this from 4,000 to 2,500. They were all telling, Manjunath, already hospital is facing a lot of financial problem and there is a lot of debt is there. So you are telling you have to reduce the charges. No, I thought, let me work on volume cum revenue model.
Yes.
And let us improve the quality of services and also bring down the rates, cost of the procedures. So within 6 months to 9 months, all of a sudden, our outpatient increased from 250 to 750. Today, it is close to 1,500 outpatients daily visiting Jaideva. And we have recorded in the last 12 years a 500% growth. The bed strength is increased from 300 to 1,800 now. Bed strength is increased from
for a single specialty.
Single specialty. To the best of my knowledge, there is no institution in this world which has got nearly 1,800 beds only for cardiac, only for one single specialty, 1,800 beds. And we do India's highest number of angioplasty. Of course, but for COVID now numbers have come down. On an average, we are doing about 40,000 cardiac interventions annually. But really most important, in last 12 to 13 years, we have treated 50 lakh cardiac patients and 5 lakh cardiac interventions including angioplasty, pacemakers and vascular devices and open heart surgeries. But most important, while treating this 50 lakh cardiac patient, not even one patient is denied or delayed a treatment for the want of money. That I have ensured. That's where I get lot of satisfaction. And you are talking about, because to bring in such a change in a government setup, because there are a lot of bureaucratic hurdles, a lot of red tapeism. So despite all those things, and today Jaideva can boast of having 100 cardiologists under one roof. No institution in the country has got 100 qualified cardiologists under one roof. And hospital hygiene is also very good. And we have created even special wards, deluxe wards, pediatric department, electrophysiology department. See why I did all these things? Because we have to treat, because public perception has changed. Today, people are coming to Jaideva, elite class are coming, rich people are coming, even bureaucrats are coming, politicians are coming. They are coming by choice. So we have to treat both rich and poor. So many a times, even now I strongly believe and practicing, my VIPs are poor patients. Poor patients are my VIPs. Because when they come and ask for some concession and a discount, it is my pleasure and also a satisfaction that we are helping the real needy. Because if you look at India, if you look from the aerial view, India looks great actually. From the helicopter or aeroplane, if you do a survey, everything looks great. But to understand real India, in my opinion, travel by train.
Yes.
You travel by train, on either side of the railway track, you see poverty, you see hunger, you see sanitation problem, you see malnutrition, you see air pollution, so many things. So that is the reason. And most important is a needy patient should get a quality care. That is my objective and intention. Nobody in our institution, whether they are from our state or from other states, go untreated for the want of money. See, sometimes I have seen patients coming from West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, that too accompanied by only mother, a small kid, and they have only 30,000 rupees, and open heart surgery costs 1 to 1.5 lakhs. Then I realize, see, to travel such a long distance itself is, and it's a precious baby, and mother says I have got only 30,000 rupees. So we have done surgery for 20,000, and I have given back 10,000 rupees. Because I keep asking them, how do you go back? No sir, we have to beg somewhere. So I have given back 10,000 rupees so that they can go back by train. And sometimes I have sent them by, if baby is very sick, I have sent them by flight actually. So that's very, very important.
Very important. I think, these are small gestures, and you may forget sometimes, but the people will remember it, and
Yeah,
will
another
remember it for life.
Yeah. See, another thing, every 10 minutes, see, it all depends where you are working. If you are working in a public institution, every 5 minutes you see a poor patient. That too, they don't have jobs, and the husband, that too in the labor class women I have seen, it's really irony of this country. Their husband is sick because of bad habits, or husband is dead, or husband has deserted, and they have a couple of children, and they see. And the other day I was seeing, there was one mother who has brought his son, he is 35 years. See, normally sons have to look after mother. Here is a situation, mother was looking after the son, and he is suffering from a heart attack. He needs a angioplasty stenting, it cost about 80,000. And she is telling, see, hats off to those poor people. In my opinion, most of the poor people tell truth. So when a poor people ask for a discount, I am extremely happy, I am satisfied. But if the rich people ask for a discount, it is extremely painful. So that mother was telling, I have somehow mobilized about 40,000 rupees, but the bill is 1 lakh. Then I told, how did you mobilize? She was telling, I am an housemaid, I am doing household job in 3-4 houses. Because I have borrowed this, I have to do one more house extra. Then I told, you take back everything. You take back everything, because then we treated that patient free. I am not telling just, this is just tip of the iceberg. This has been continuously going on. And we are also doing this Indo-American Angioplasty workshop in collaboration with one Dr. Subramani Art Foundation in United States. Under that, every year we do 200 angioplasty free of cost. We do 200 angioplasty free of cost. That is the reason. It's not just enough you are highly skilled or you are highly brilliant, but there has to be a humanitarian approach, very, very important.
Also, another thing, you've also been a great innovator, right? And you've done this mitral valvulotomy, the balloon procedure. How did that come about? And now there's also a Manjunath technique also for difficult cases. So you're there in the books, you're here, you're everywhere. It's almost like the RBCs going everywhere into every part of the body. Can you explain this?
See, actually this mitral stenosis is a rheumatic heart disease, and unfortunately this is more common among poor people and lower middle class or poorer socioeconomic status. And of course it is a Japanese surgeon actually, he discovered this balloon valvuloplasty procedure for mitral stenosis. And in India, of course, we started doing this procedure from 1996 onwards. So actually what happened with Japanese technique, success rate was around 90-92%. In difficult cases, we are not able to do this balloon procedure. So a narrow mitral stenosis means it's a narrowed valve. So earlier it was treated with surgery. Now with this balloon, we can just pass this balloon from the leg vein and it goes through the heart valve and we open it up, and after 48 hours patients are discharged. And the cost of this Japanese balloon was very high, around 70,000, 80,000 rupees, even about 15 years back, and many poor patients cannot afford. Then there was a a balloon developed by China. Actually, they came and approached me. Sir, can we do this procedure? But it did not have any patent, it did not have any clinical trial. I told them, you just give couple of balloons, let me try on my patients, and then it worked very well. Then we published that article. As a result, cost of that procedure today has come down from 70,000 to about 15 to 18,000 rupees.
So much of discount.
Yeah.
Yes, very
Then of course, in difficult, critically narrowed valve, we modify. Once what happened, I was doing a procedure, accidentally it slipped into the left ventricle when I was trying to do the procedure. Then yes, that critically narrowed valve was well opened with that technique. Then we tried for some more, then we published. Then yeah.
So it's almost by.
But today, in Jaideva has done highest number of balloon mitral valvuloplasties in the world. It's a world record actually.
It's a record.
Yeah. And also we have done 200 angioplasties in just 5 days, free of cost. That's also a world record.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So this was like a camp that you did? Or
Yeah, camp.
It was a camp.
Yeah, it's a camp. We advertised in the newspaper that all poor patients, senior citizens, auto rickshaw drivers and poor farmers, we listed. So then we accumulated 200 patients, we did. This was in collaboration with one Dr. G. Subramani Heart Foundation and also one Medtronic company from Santa Rosa, USA. They've all helped. So today in Jaideva, we have roped in about 35 charitable organizations.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I'm very happy to say, today we have, we started with 6 crores bank loan in 2006. Today, I'm very happy to say we have somewhere around 100 crores in Poor Patient Corpus Fund. See, this is out of, various donors have donated and individuals, organizations, and we are giving a utilization document, which are all the patients which are treated with their contribution. So this is one, and this probably, to the best of my knowledge, this is the only institution in the country where there is an institutional Poor Patient Corpus Fund of this magnitude. And another thing, we have taken this affordable cardiac health care to the different parts of the state. See, Bangalore, of course, today we have 700 beds, 700 bedded hospital, and we have all in all 12 cardiac cath labs. This is only the government institution in the country which has 12 cardiac cath labs performing angioplasty and cath lab interventions. And I'm very happy to say at this point of time, Infosys Foundation chairperson Sudha Murthy and Narayan Murthy, they are building 350 bedded cardiac hospital for us just adjacent to the main building in Bangalore, Jaideva. Hopefully it will be inaugurated in June or July. So hats off to their contribution, and one great thing I have to mention about them, they are so simple. There is a popular saying, for a rich person to be simplistic, it's extremely difficult. They are so, for a rich person to be simplistic, they are so simple and humble. Even nowadays, they say, no, I know that because you are managing that institution very well, I am convinced that this facility will be utilized. That's the reason we are building such a 350 bedded hospital free of cost with their engineers, with their architects. Probably with this, we are going to have 1,000 bedded cardiac Jaideva Hospital, Bangalore itself.
Excellent.
And Mysore, we have established 400 bedded cardiac hospital. See, one in Mysore, actually it costed us 240 crores. 170 crore was given from government. Then another 70 crores out of internal resources and plus donations.
Excellent, excellent.
Then it was a long pending dream of Gulbarga, that Hyderabad, Karnataka region, to have a cardiac institute. We have established a cardiac institute at Gulbarga in 2016. It's also doing very well.
Very good.
Earlier, patients from Gulbarga
had to come all the way to.
They were all going to Hyderabad or Sholapur. Today, none of them are going, and they are getting heart surgeries done at Kalburgi. Even when I was I mean, when we were doing Gulbarga project, I have traveled in this Yashwantpur Sholapur train maybe around 15-20 times, and with my engineers, with my other colleagues. So we have traveled and identified the place, and everybody was telling, people are telling for last 70 years about
Doing it and not doing
not
it.
doing it.
So you said-
Within 11 months, I established
that.
130 bedded Jayadeva Hospital at Kalburgi, and I think in the last 4 years, nearly 4 lakh patients have been treated.
Which is, amazing. See, this can only happen. It's not because you just want to do it. There's a passion in it. You're driven by passion and commitment, and it's only with this passion comes compassion. And when all these things put together with love, compassion, passion, that drive in the belly takes you forward. And another thing of assessing who is poor and who's not poor, this eyeball assessment that you were able to bring in, and the government was also able to accept that. That was also another thing that you did. How do you find out this eyeball assessment?
Yeah, because there are, of course, we have some rules and regulations to provide a free treatment for below poverty line patients. So below poverty line patients in this country are given what is called BPL card, below poverty line. They should possess this. Many a time it so happens their name may be wrongly written in that card, or initial may be missing. Then automatically they will not be eligible to get treatment under that scheme, whatever, whether it's Arogya Karnataka, Ayushman Bharat scheme. And another thing, many poor patients do not have houses in this country or in this state. So they don't have a home address, they don't have the BPL card. So how to treat these genuinely poor people, but they don't have these documents? So for that it was going through my mind, let us bring in a new law, what is called assessing the poor who do not have BPL card for a free treatment or a concessional treatment through what is called assessing the poor by an eyeball assessment. Then I introduced this particular agenda in the Governing Council meeting headed by the Chief Minister. They were all wondering, how can we assess, we need documents, because in our enthusiasm to help poor people, if you go on giving a free treatment or a concessional treatment without a documentation, then you will be answerable to the Accounts Department, answerable to Accountant General of India. We are audited by Accountant General of India. Then I said, no, let this power be given to the director to assess a poor person or a poor patient for a free treatment or a concessional treatment by eyeball assessment. In my opinion, eyeball assessment is far, far superior than your documents of BPL card. If you look at the poor person, they see that poverty that is seen in their eyes. Their cheeks are, shrunken. You look at their feet, it is all split. So, and that scenario, their accompanying daughter or small kid, accompanying wife, if you look at that symbolizes their poverty. So I think this is where we have to bring a change in the system. This is what is called amendment. So if there is a rule, if that rule is causing lot of inconvenience to a common man, or causing lot of inconvenience to maybe a student, I think it is the responsibility of the people at the top who are at the helm of the affairs or policy makers to bring in a change in that rule so that it helps the society, it helps a common man. So that is the reason, just you should not stick to the rule actually. If that rule is harming the people, you should change the rule.
But it takes such a long time to change a rule.
Yeah.
You start changing the rule, it goes to many processes. By the time either the person who wants to change the rule is dead, or people lose interest. But you are able to be alive at the end of it, and you see the change also occur.
See, every patient gives you a lesson, and every day you learn a lesson. So that's very, very important. See, when you are walking in the hospital, suppose simple things. So initially when I took over as a director, lot of debris used to be there on the floor of the house. See, I myself have picked it up. initially.
That is a great lesson because everyone else comes to pick it up.
Yeah, and these people, even these housekeeping workers were even playing cards also in the corridors at that time. So, of course, I have never punished them actually, but I have motivated them. Same group of employees and same people, you have to motivate. See, even if somebody does a mistake, give one chance for them to correct, and don't give an impulsive punishment. Many a time somebody will, this is very important for an administrator actually. Somebody comes and gives a complaint, straight away immediately you don't act and don't give punishing orders. You have to wait for 48 hours. You listen from others also. 8 out of 10 times those complaints are false. Otherwise, another thing, always give credence to good work done by any of your colleagues. Sometimes we get lot of mails, such and such a doctor looked after very well, such and such a staff nurse looked after very well, they are like gods. Those mails come to me. So, normally what some people will do, they will not pass on this great appreciation letters to the concerned. I always call them, I appreciate them. It is also true, sometimes there may be some complaint. So, what I do, my way of dealing with the complaint is, if some staff nurse has spoken rudely to the patient or a doctor has not properly advised, is very rude, so they would have written lot of things in the letter. So, I don't punish them for that. I call them to my room, I will ask them to read that letter, complaint letter, that is enough. Because if I have to give a memo, I cannot write all those things. Some patients are very rustic, they would have written very nasty letter, they treated me like anything, I mean they are not human beings, something like. So, you give that letter to those people only, it modifies them, it motivates them, no, I should not have done this, like that.
Self-corrections.
So, always my philosophy and my way of working is corrective measures, less punitive action. Many a time I have asked my personal secretary to draft a letter, to take a disciplinary action, but I have not signed. Because that itself, they keep coming and asking, did the director sign that letter? Did director sign the letter? Then after 4 or 5 days, I say forget about it.
Which is good. That is why we are so popular, because it's important. Just raising the stick is enough. You don't have to beat them.
Correct.
That
and
is
most
how you
important, we have to also look after your employees very well. See, I believe, suppose for a doctor we give about 2 lakh salary, okay? Suppose there are 100 group D workers, 100. So, you annually, see, for one specialist you are giving 2 lakh salary per month, right? So, you raise the salary of this group D by another 2000 rupees. For 100 employees it becomes 2 lakhs. Suppose if there are 10 specialists, if one of them is not working, 2 lakhs is gone. Here at least out of 100, at least 90 will work. So, we have to also look after
their well-being.
Yes. Very important. And I always make sure that whenever I am going for rounds and all, I ask them whether outsourced employee, whether your employer is paying salary properly, all those. This is very, very important actually.
Absolutely.
And we have created, see, sometimes when you are going for rounds, some patients, attenders will ask, where is the toilet or where is the echo room? That means there is a need for signage in that area.
Absolutely.
So, those are small things, makes a huge difference. But most important is you should provide space for your colleagues to grow.
Yes.
You have to appreciate the growth of your colleagues, and you should provide space for your colleagues to grow. Then without your own knowledge, you will be growing taller.
Absolutely. Now, going into the private sector to a government sector. Now, you've been in the government sector all the time, Manjunath, and we've been seeing the private sector, and I've always been in the private sector. I've always found that there is a lot of cannibalization in the private sector from a single nursing home kind of practice to the corporatization. Now, you saying corporatization has a total different connotation in the government sector because the prices are kept very competitive. To what extent, with your corporatization in the government sector, has it affected the corporate sectors in the private sector in terms of business?
Public sector or a government sector, for example, we are talking about hospital. If a government hospital is providing a quality care at an affordable cost and also providing a very good care, it acts like a market regulator.
Yes.
It acts like a market regulator because then the public will have many options. They will also have an option of coming to a government hospital by choice because the services are good. If government hospital is not providing a quality care or a timely treatment or all the various recent technologies if they are not giving, then what happens? They have to go to private sector. So both, in my opinion, in Indian scenario, both government and private hospital services are very much required. It's not possible for only the government hospital to cater to the entire needs of our population. But one thing, you have to also raise the treatment standard in government hospital. What government hospital needed today is, of course, infrastructure is one component, manpower is extremely important. We need manpower and also we need some persons to manage them. See, managing this one and monitoring and supervision of this hospital is important. Ultimately, the person, see, India is not a system driven country. India is a individual driven country. Dr. Kamini Rao is good, yes, under her leadership that institution will grow. So, while selecting the directors or while selecting the heads of the organization, you have to take into consideration whether somebody has got a, apart from academic excellence, they should have a leadership quality, they should have a team concept, and you should have a concept of getting everybody together. That's very, very important, and most important, of course, government support is extremely important. See, ultimately your hard work pays off. Ultimately, you should go on doing hard work, then it comes back in an unexpected way. So there should not be any discrimination. Even while treating patient, there should not be any discrimination. There should not be any targets also. That's also very important.
I think most of the time the target driven approach is what you see in the private sector in the corporate world, because doctors who come in really good in their work, like for example in Jayadeva, you tell them that the patient is poor, so you can use those catheters and we will somehow manage to get it from somewhere else. But in the private sector, most of them, the doctors who are really good, are made to use the costliest catheters so that the bills in the patient or for the patients are very high, to such an extent that they are looking at their targets because their salaries depends on that. So finally they become stooges to the economic growth of the corporate hospital rather than scientific excellence or clinical excellence. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, what happens actually today, many of these private hospitals are managed and run by business people actually. So doctor also are forced to do a lot of things, but people are under the impression whatever bills they are paying, such a huge fat bills they are paying to the hospital will go to the doctors. No.
That is the point.
Yeah. So most of it, maybe at least 85% goes to the management,
yes,
and 15% ultimately the blame will come on the doctors. But again I feel I think doctors also as far as decision making, it should be scientific, it should be evidence based, it should be based on ethics. Decision whether to operate or not, whether by operating, whether is patient it's going to benefit the patient or is going to harm the patient, that decision is with us as far as even in a private sector. So that's the reason public sector organization, if they function efficiently, then it acts like a market regulator, automatically their prices will drop. So otherwise patients will not have, otherwise there is no other option where they have to go to hospital. See, many a time what happens in our country, a poor patient for one hospital bill can be their entire lifetime
Savings.
entire lifetime
Absolutely.
savings, lifetime saving.
But
And
this
another
is-
thing, see, when we are saving one patient, you are saving one life. You are not saving one life actually. You are saving
Family.
entire family.
Absolutely.
That one should understand.
But Dr. Manjunath, when you look at the doctors, the present day doctors today are in a quandary, because if you want to do a specialty like cardiology, they can't actually do a cardiology setup by themselves. They don't have that kind of money. They have to go to the institute. So if they go to the institute, they will all be labeled as how many patients can you bring in. So everyone has got a number to bring in, and their salaries will depend upon how much they bring in. So at the end of it, it's like the chicken and the egg story, and they get dragged into a whirlpool that they can't get out. So all the good things that they have learnt in the college is all gone, and they get into this rut.
Yeah, one thing is our younger generation of doctors, yes, I fully agree with you. When they join a private hospital, always they will be given some target. You have to do such and such a number of procedure within a stipulated period. I agree, but we should also get ourselves convinced. We should also talk to ourselves. Let me grow gradually. We should not be in a hurry actually. Many of our youngsters are in a hurry. So best is, okay, we have to balance between this two, and time will come. See, for medical profession, money will come, but will start coming little later and continues to come throughout. So, and this is where one has to have, this is ultimately whether you practice in a government sector or whether you practice in a private sector, there is an entity what is called intellectual honesty. So even in private sector, there are some people who are doing a very good ethical practice, and so it is an individualistic issue. But as I said, most of the if the hospitals are owned by doctors consortium, then we can probably provide a quality care at a reasonable, because even they have invested a lot, so at a reasonable cost if the hospitals are owned by a doctors consortium.
That's true. So I would like to know, in the healthcare
But
sector,
even in a private hospital, in an emergency, I think there has to
should
be
treat.
humanitarian approach.
Absolutely.
In an whether patient has money, no money, whether documents, no document, insurance or no insurance, it is the moral responsibility of a doctor to attend an emergency at that time. Of course, not for every patient, at least for an emergency. See even in Jaideva what happened, before I took over, there was a payment, advance payment of 2000 rupees. That means before admission, every patient has to pay 2000 rupees as an admission fees. Then I realized, when patient develops heart attack, even 1 minute is important. If there is delay in the admission by 5 minutes, half an hour or 1 hour for this want of this, then patient is gone. So when life is gone, where is the question of file? So that's the reason I keep on telling life is more important than the file. Then I removed that clause. So today anybody coming to Jaideva for emergency admission, whether they have money, no money, documents, no document, insurance, no insurance, they are immediately admitted and treatment is initiated. These are sort of rules we have to think of.
The other thing is, of course, on the lighter note, that we have now gone across to the area where you've had a book of legends, and you've got this thing on a living legend, and this has been in English, then Karma Yogi as well. So there's been a lot of books written on you. So obviously, and also a lot of papers that you have published, and there have been a lot of students who have trained under you. So you are a trainer, you're a social reformer, you're a writer, and you've had your biographies written already. So standing on the threshold of 2021 now, so Dr. Manjunath, after listening to this journey, I think nothing is impossible and nothing is permanent. And in this particular government sector, Jaideva stands out as a fantastic example. You have brought this institute with so much of practical knowledge and logical progress that from a company or an institute which had only 4 crores in the bank with a 6 crore loan, you took over in 2006, and at 2021 you've now got 100 crore in the bank and almost a 500% increase in the business there. You now have reached the pinnacle of your career. So what is next for you, and where do you find yourself coming up? Because I think that the next thing would be public-private partnership, a health minister's position, and see that private sectors also function as efficiently as you have functioned in the government sector, because I don't think that all government sector areas are functioning as efficiently as Jaydeva. So can you now use your Jaydeva approach and McDonaldize our entire health system, both private and public? You'll have been doing an yeoman service to this country.
Yeah, actually what happened, actually we have set up a model today, what is called Jaydeva module or a Jaydeva model of administration. Even Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore has done a case study, changing the face of Jaydeva, turnaround of Jaydeva, they have done a case study. Even London School of Economics and Leadership School of Singapore, and also the Yale University of Medical Management, they have come and studied and they have appreciated the cost effective quality healthcare services at a government hospital. Even they have went on to tell, even the Accountant General of India, who has audited the institute account, has said Jaydeva could be the role model for all public health institutions. So it's up to the government to take up this model and emulate in other things. But of course, it's all lot of obstacles will be there. So it is left to the political wisdom. It is left to the political wisdom to adopt this model, because once maybe in 2014, the All India Institute of Medical Science, the medical superintendent and the finance advisor visited Jaydeva to adopt Jaydeva model at All India Institute of Medical Science. Unfortunately, it could not happen. They said no, it is impossible to have this patient friendly, employees friendly atmosphere, and employees friendly and patient friendly regulations. What you have done, we cannot do in Delhi. They expressed their inability actually. But definitely it's up to the, we have evolved a system, but this system to sustain it again left to the political wisdom. Maybe after some time, when we exit after some time, people who are going to occupy that should able to at least carry this forward and sustain this forward, because otherwise sometimes there can be fall, vertical fall should not happen. That's very, very important. And most important is, see, these are all great things one can do. These are all God sent opportunity. When you have some power, when you have some attitude and intention to do, without a second thought, you should go on doing these things. And if you do a lot of good things, then it again comes back to you in this thing. Ultimately, if a common man on the road is satisfied with your services, means you have done something good to this nation or to the society. So that's what happens many a time. When I visit Gulbarga, visit Mysore, or when I go for social functions and all, because I am not a film star, I am not a politician or whatever it is, a lot of people will come and touch my feet. You have saved my mother, you have saved my daughter, you have saved my uncle, and also we didn't have money. So that is probably the bigger award than these Padma awards.
Yes, that's true. So, Dr. Manjunath, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and you've given a lot of food for thought for all my viewers. So, I would like you to talk to my viewers on what is your mantra for success, and how can other students as well as my viewers emulate you, and what would your success story be to them?
Yeah, see, basically what happens, you have to keep everything simple actually. And yes, you should, hard work is the key extremely, and you have to listen to your colleagues, you should listen to your friends, any constructive suggestions, and because and always you should have a positive attitude. See, with a positive attitude, problems can become opportunities actually, and you should invest in yourself, and your thinking should be your capital asset actually, and promise yourself that you never give up. This very, very important. And there can be ups and downs. So like ECG, I was giving an example, even along the seashore their waves will come and go, but again never fails to come up again. And most important is at the same time what happens whenever you are taking a decision, if you think this decision is going to help a society at large, you should never hesitate to take a decision. And at the same time you have to work within the framework of rules. Particularly in the government sector, we have to work within the framework of rule book, what is called rule book. But if the rule book has got anomalies, then you try to correct the anomalies through an appropriate procedure. And most important is you should never ever go on projecting yourself that I have done this or done that. So it's up, your achievement should speak for yourself, not somebody, not yourself actually, your achievement should speak for yourself. And another thing is what we finish is more important than what we start actually. What we finish is more important than what we start, and your exit should be always emulative to the others. So there are some people who are on the farewell day, they keep on telling the next incoming person should have done this or should have done this. But you should never leave this to others. You yourself should complete all those things and go. Then you are unnecessarily shifting the responsibilities. Those are some of the important things. And if there is an opportunity to help an individual, if there is an opportunity to help an organization or a society or a person in need, if you are not able to help despite you are in a position to help, if you are not helping such individual, probably you should be disappointed more than the one who was seeking your help. So I think definitely this is a great opportunity for all of us, and doctors have also got a great future. One should balance between your profession as well as your patients. Ultimately patient centric approach is extremely important. Money is definitely required, we all need money, but money will come at an appropriate time. At the same time you should not feel jealous of your colleagues, very important. You should provide space as a skilled surgeon or a skilled cardiologist or a skilled specialist. You should always train your younger generation. You should not be under the shadow of that fear. If I have developed some very good technique, you should always impart this technique to the next generation. Then only science will grow, and then only you can serve, because ultimately bottom line is a humanitarian approach, and kindness makes you the most beautiful person on this earth. Thank you.
So that was Dr. C.N. Manjunath for you, a man with a golden heart. He has given us a lot of useful tips, and I am sure my viewers, you will follow it all. So that's all for now. Till we meet again for the next episode, Kamini Rao's Masterclass.
I'm Dr. Prabha Chandra, Professor of Psychiatry from NIMHANS. I've been talking to Dr. Kamini Rao on her masterclass. Catch me on Dr. Kamini Rao's masterclass talking about the mental health of women and perinatal mental health.